It is not hard to find evidence that Ukrainian culture runs deep in the city of Yorkton. Easily the most prominent of this is St. Mary's Ukrainian Catholic Church. With its iconic metal roof and its towering central dome, the church is one of Yorkton's mightiest landmarks. I'm Hayden DeGrow, and I'm the Culture and Heritage Specialist for the city of Yorkton. I love learning history, and teaching people about Yorkton's past is a proud part of my job. Join me as I highlight fascinating people, places, and events from Yorkton's history and take you where these places can be found today. This is Yorkton Retold. In the late 1800s through the early 1900s, immigrants from Eastern Europe, then under the control of the Russian Empire, arrived on the prairies at the behest of Canadian governments. Their experience in farming was appreciated, but their desire for religious freedom truly drew them to the land. Primarily settling in a wide area, they spread from southeastern Manitoba all the way up to the Edmonton area. Starting in 1902, Yorkton began to receive its own immigrants, mainly from two different western Ukrainian villages. Before long, the community desired a permanent church for them to practice their faith. Q. Father Achilles Dallaire. Moving from Brandon, Manitoba with a delegation of fellow Belgian Redemptorists, Father Dallaire founded St. Gerard's Parish initially. Soon, though, as the population grew in size, a larger church was required, and St. Mary's was created. At first, the building held about 200 parishioners. As well as the church, a rectory was built to house Father Dallaire's monastery. This rectory, attached to the church's west side, was completed in 1920 and offered a place for priests and other church dignitaries to live and work. It later housed seminaries and the church's publishing press called the Redeemer's Voice. This press's biggest contribution was the church's newsletter, also known as the Redeemer's Voice. It is obvious that the church's central dome was the most outstanding feature of the building. Between 1939 and 1941, the church staff hired Stephen Mush, an artist, to paint the religious scenes on the inside of the curved walls. The finished artwork, declared the Coronation of Mary, Queen of Heaven, contains the images of 157 angels and cherubs, many of which were painted with the faces of Yorkton residents of the day. In 1955, Yorkton size began to require the church to expand. The church decided to build a massive east wing, which extended 30 meters, or 100 feet, toward what is now Wellington Street. And the surrounding area was landscaped into a beautiful park after the wing was completed. And this is what became of the expansion. From a capacity of 200 to nearly 5 times that, the church became the largest Catholic church in eastern Saskatchewan. As we can see at the end of the wing, we have one of the original rosary windows that once adorned this side of the building prior to the addition. Along each side of the wing are a series of stained glass windows that add some color and depth to the building. It wasn't just the church itself that the church founded for Ukrainians in the area. In 1919, retired Reverend Nikitas Budka, Ukrainian Bishop of Canada, felt that a school to work alongside the church was necessary and established a residential religious college in Yorkton. Named St. Joseph's College, the cornerstone was laid by Bishop Budka himself in September of that year and was opened a year later. However, one issue arose at first. There wasn't actually a religious order of teachers for Ukrainians in Canada at the time. So therefore, a Roman Catholic, English-speaking Brothers of Christian School member came over from Eastern Canada. The school was a major educational center for the church's male students in the Yorkton area. The original building was replaced in the 1960s with a more updated, spacious version, but even then, things were going to change. By then, the need for religious residential schools was no longer needed, and the Brothers of the Christian Schools shut down the building at the end of the school year in June of 1973. During this time, Catholic divisions were established, and the Yorkton Catholic School Division merged its Sacred Heart High School with the former college. To save money, the school division used Sacred Heart's building and sold the former St. Joseph's building to the Good Spirit Public School Division. And this is where that school once stood. The college became a junior high school known as C.J. Houston School, named after an influential surgeon that deeply assisted education in Yorkton. Sadly for C.J. Houston, junior high schools were also becoming unnecessary in the 1980s, and the school slowly began to deteriorate. The place was closed by 1990, and due to a lack of maintenance, the place was demolished in 2004. And if the boys were taught in St. Joseph's, it would make sense that the girls would have their own school, right? Well, the building you see right here is where they learned. First established in 1916, this place was called Sacred Heart Institute. This time, a women's group called the Sister Servants of Mary Immaculate worked alongside St. Mary's to allot funds and land to build Sacred Heart. Originally, the school only taught primary levels, but in 1945, the school became a high school for Catholic girls. In 1973, the church removed itself from direct education, and Sacred Heart became the city's Catholic high school under the Christ the Teacher School Division. In 2004, the same year St. Joseph's was demolished, the division built a new high school and moved their operations there across the street. Afterwards, the building was changed to be a seniors' residence. In the 1970s, the impact of the church was recognized by the construction of St. Mary's Cultural Center, which is the building you see right here. Inside this building is the practice space for one of Yorkton's Ukrainian dancing troupes, a museum of old traditional garb for Ukrainians, as well as a large dance hall. In this hall, community dinners, balls, wedding parties, and other events have been held for decades, catered by families in St. Mary's community. This has led the church to be a more welcoming presence in the city. Further change would come to St. Mary's in the 2020s. As time had gone on, the rectory that once housed dormitories and offices was beginning to be used less and less. By 2022, it was decided to demolish the rectory, the area of the church that was attached to it covered by a decorative brick wall made to look like a cross. Here, we can see that I would have been standing right here on the front steps of that rectory. Though the rectory itself is gone, it's still seen on places like Google Maps Street View. St. Mary's has been around for more than a century and remains an icon of Yorkton's cultural and historical scene. One of over 20 different churches across Yorkton, St. Mary's size and design makes it unique, not only amongst the churches in Yorkton, but those across the province of Saskatchewan. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. See you next time, History Buffs!